Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As we mentioned earlier in the beginning of this edition of The Breakfast Show, we'll be talking about the representation of women in the present time and, of course, in ancient times, and the importance of such representation. How can we know the truth about how women were represented in ancient Egypt? To answer this question, we have with us Dr. Heba Nayef. She is the Vice Dean for Instructional Affairs, Faculty of Language and Communication. Good morning to you, Dr. Heba.
Good morning.
Always pleasure having you with us.
Indeed, Hela, always a pleasure and always interesting stories, Dr. Heba. And today we are going to talk about women and how women were represented in the public spheres in ancient Egypt. How do we know that there was a real representation for women in the public spheres?
Okay, first of all, I'm talking today about the linguistic representation.
Yes.
It means the way language was used to represent women. You know that we will give just a brief introduction for our viewers.
Yes.
The importance of language is that it does not just reflect our ideologies, but it sediments these ideologies. It makes you see the world in a different point of view. So if you respect, we have proverbs about talking in respect to women, the whole world will respect you. This, you know, this famous proverb, اللي يقول لمراته يا هانم, he who gives his wife the title lady, everybody's going to respect her.
Like
okay?
Yeah.
So this is the...
It signifies for non-Arabic speakers is that when a husband talks or addresses his wife in a respectful manner, other people would actually show respect.
And this, what the Egyptian people say in a very nice way in the Proverbs, is a theoretical, you know, studies. Lots of theoretical studies has been done about this, what is called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, is that language does not only reflect your thoughts and beliefs, it forms the thoughts and beliefs as well. And from this stems all my research work, actually. Is that I firmly believe, that language is being used as a tool to sometimes disparage women. And in order to change the things we do not like about the way people speak negatively, or what we call linguistic sexism, the negative representation of women through language, we need to change this by looking back to the past. Let's see, is it really true? I mean, everybody says that women in ancient Egypt were highly respected and so on, but how they were represented linguistically. And from this comes this idea, linguistic representation, and not just at home, as Mahisi said, public sphere, politics, economy, trade.
All the spheres of life.
All the public spheres.
Yes, I mean...
Okay, not the private. We are not going to talk about the house, the home, raising the children, etc. You know, this nice word saying that the house is the kingdom of the woman, etc. This is the private sphere. But what about the public sphere? We have serious problem in the way language is used nowadays to represent women in the public sphere.
But if we look back at history, we would find that women in ancient Egypt did not only assume decision-making posts, but actually were highly respected through the letters or through the documents exchanged with the kings.
This disparagement of women in the public sphere is not just for Egypt, by the way, nowadays. It's worldwide.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people are doing research as scholars in order to say, stop representing women linguistically in the public sphere in this way. You need to represent them in lots of research has been done about women going into election, Hillary Clinton, for example, etc., and the way she was represented in the media. I took this idea and I returned back to the past, and I wanted, as Hela says, to know, we know that women were in power in ancient Egypt. We have at least 6 major queens in ancient Egypt who ruled Egypt from 3 years, 2 years, till 20 years or 21 as Hatshepsut.
Like Hatshepsut.
So I'm not going to tackle these women. Because if you are in power, so people are going to talk to you in a very respected, yes, respected way and a respectful way. They are going to respect you and linguistically represent you like the ruler of the country. But what about other women, assuming, you know, posts?
Ordinary posts.
Yes. I started first with these stellas, you know, for example, women who were not rulers.
Yeah.
And it caught my attention, the famous Ahmas Stela, which is now in the, you know, in the Egyptian Museum.
Yeah.
So near here, okay. And in this stela, which was discovered in 1900, he talks about himself, etc. It was discovered in actually the Karnak, the 8th phylum in Karnak, this stela, and they took it to the Egyptian Museum. They say, he says there about himself, and then he talks about his mom, his mother. And it stopped me, the language. Not just the description or the representation, no. The language, the titles he gave to his mother.
Yes.
You know, the lady of the two lands, etc. And then the mother of the king, the sister of the king, okay, and the daughter of the king. I stopped at here, and then I say, okay, again, the woman here is associated with the man. And then I went down a little bit, and I studied the verbs. I discovered that Ahmas, when he talked about his mom, he used verbs which is associated with women, like protect, okay, and take care, look after, etc. But from a different perspective. We talk about women taking care of the house, women taking, nowadays, protecting the children, etc. He was talking about his mother, Yahutub, taking care of Egypt, protecting the soldiers, okay, and, you know, quelling the rebellion. You know, he talked about Yahutub, who brought peace back again, pacified Upper Egypt. Now, these are not words associated with women. I mean, the whole phrase. You don't take care of the soldiers of Egypt. You don't take care of the whole country. You don't win, you do not win victories and so on, if you are a woman nowadays. I mean, think about it. Do we have a queen nowadays or a mother of a king, which is, you compare, talked about in this same way?
No.
Okay. She led the army, for example. No, we don't have this. So then this is his mother, and this is a king, and this is a stela. So the question, as you said, would tell us that this really happened. Probably it's a propaganda and idealized
Because
image.
he's a king. What
Yes.
about the ordinary thing, the everyday life, letters or exchanging letters between ordinary
This is the
people?
point. If you want to see ancient Egypt,
truth.
and if you want to see the truth, because stelas is like, in my opinion, you know, statements,
glorification,
foreign ministry statements, you know, and the parliamentary statements, and all these statements. It can be propaganda, okay. But what about real daily life? Okay, so I need to thank two people here, actually, both Ellen Jones and Professor Richard Parkinson from the Oriental Department in Oxford. They've been tremendous help, actually. And we talked about, Ellen is studying the representation of women in ancient Egypt, but not from a linguistic point of view, okay? So together we sort out, this is what you were talking about, the letters.
Yes.
I started to study letters written, which survived. We have lots of documents that survived from ancient Egypt. The Egyptian Museum is full of these documents.
Right?
And yes, and the whole world, all the museums throughout the world full of these documents. And I started to study these documents, and I picked certain letters, and then I discovered, for example, there is this letter addressed to Seti II, okay, from a woman, okay. Now, again, it's like I'm sending a letter to the president,
Yes.
Okay, giving the fact that our president now believes in women. Okay, this is something new. We have 6 ministers and
This
so
wasn't
on.
the case.
Okay, this is not the case throughout Egypt, by the way, modern Egypt, but ancient
in
Egypt, yes.
history, yeah.
The woman was in charge of weaving industry and so on, and she talks directly to Seti II, and then I started to study the way she is talking to him. Okay, she is saying that it's a very good thing that you have sent these people to be trained by me, etc., etc., etc. This is an ordinary woman. And the way, of course, she glorified the king. It's this is politeness.
Yes.
If you talk to the
But the thing
ruler.
is, she was addressing the king directly.
Directly.
Yeah.
Okay, this direct way of addressing them, and the way, the verbs she used, like your father, she did not. When you read the letter, you get the feeling that this was a king, Seti II, and probably if you are talking about Seti II, you are going to talk about many other kings,
Yes, indeed.
who were actually a little bit not the pharaoh we have in mind, the mighty tyrant ruler. No, this was somebody whose people would write letters to and even commend his deeds. Yeah, you did a good thing by sending the people, because this was what your father used to do, etc., etc., etc.
Oh wow, this is what
Okay.
you said in the
Yes.
letter.
Yes,
It's a
this
good
is
thing that you sent some people to get trained by me.
by me, instructed.
And you're following your
instructed by
father's
me.
steps.
Okay, because this is a very important industry, quoting her words. The language here stops you. And then I went to another case, which is going to surprise, I know, Mahesti in particular. Okay, now, when you know, at the time of Ramses the 11th,
Yes.
this is the 20th dynasty, and Egypt in this case had, of course, the king, okay, the pharaoh,
Yeah.
but it had a very powerful priests in Upper Egypt.
Yes.
The priests, the high priest of Amun was very powerful,
Indeed, yes.
especially at the time of Ramses the 11th. So when this high priest of Amun, okay, has to write a letter to his commander, there was sort of a murder or a crime of a sort, not a murder, a crime in which 2 policemen, note here they were policemen, officials, committed something, and the king wanted to punish them, or the high priest wanted to punish them. So he wrote 3 letters. Okay, the first letter he wrote it to the scribe.
What happened?
And it's very important that he writes to the scribe. He addresses, when you open, there's what we call the politeness way of talking in linguistics, okay, in pragmatics in particular. He didn't follow any of these. He's the ruler, he's the commander here, the high priest of Amun. So he directly talked to the guy, the scribe, and told him, Tutmosis, the scribe's name, and sometimes they call it Tojani, to something. It has nicknames. He has nicknames. And he tells him directly, go join with, and I need to stop at the verb here, join with the leader of the guy next to him. He names him, and then Adjumant or Adjum, Lady Adjum. He doesn't call her Lady Adjum.
Yes.
Join with Adjum and the official investigator, and they, which means both of them, will bring to me these 2 policemen, and they will investigate the charges, and they are going to see to the death of the policemen after the investigation.
Yes.
Okay, they were going to be drowned in the sea, and don't tell anybody about them. This is what he said. And then he wrote another letter to the guy, the official, same way of addressing him. Join with, again, this equality is great.
Ajam and the other...
And Ajam is first, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, this is one.
Not only.
Okay.
Okay.
So he wrote to her, and this is what stopped me.
The priest himself.
Yes,
Yes.
the third letter.
Yeah.
He did not go directly and tell her, join with so and so. No. Of course, when he started to talk to his officials, he said that I have been attentive to every single thing you have said, etc., which shows the concern.
Yes.
Okay, I have taken into consideration all the matter you have sent me, etc., etc., etc. For her, he started with praising her and praying that the gods take care of her, and expressing that he will see her soon, and this will be one of a pleasure for him.
Yeah.
And then he tells her, you will take care of this and this and that. This stops me. This is a crime of a sort, punishable with the death penalty.
Yes.
Okay? And to put a lady in charge of this is one thing.
Yes.
Of charge of investigation.
Yes.
This.
And then, not just that she is in charge, no, the way you address her. The difference between the three letters, I mean, these three letters should be studied together,
Yes.
because each one of them will not tell you a lot.
Yes.
But
In comparison.
if you compare the way the high priest of Amun, the commander, the military commander there at that time, is addressing the woman, would stop you. Okay? These are things that cannot be faked. This is documents, everyday speech, etc., everyday business, as we say. And this was, things did not stop at that. We have legal documents. You know, Egyptians, ancient Egyptians were concerned, so much concerned with, you know, documenting things.
Yes, yes, this is well known.
So we have lots of court documents. And we have this, one of the things that a woman, a mother, decided that she is going to disinherit 4 of her sons because they didn't take care of her in her old age. When she died, one of the sons filed a lawsuit. And the what's very interesting when you read the lawsuit is that at the end, it says that in respect for the woman's wish, you are disinherited. Now,
we're talking about a very advanced way of life. Not only that they documented everything, not only that they had this whole legal system going on, perhaps in a more sophisticated way than it is nowadays,
Yes.
but also in paying attention to all the details in the lawsuit, as you mentioned, in writing
Yes.
everything. And because you are a linguist, you pay attention to
the use of
Wording
words,
as
the wording, exactly, yes.
titles and names. I mean, one of the things that drew my attention is the fact that Egyptian women got very powerful titles. For example, remember Pishat and Merat Petah? They had titles of the chief physician, okay, the king's physician. I mean, right now we don't have a woman with this
And
title.
you mentioned also, Heba, that they were many female warriors as well. They engaged in
took
wars.
part
and-
in the
they
wars.
took part in wars in a different way than, I mean, they didn't have the sword and they go fighting, etc.
But
Okay,
they did participate as well.
in a way that, for example, Hotep was commended on protecting Egypt. The queens, you know, we know that Hatshepsut went for peace.
Yes.
But Hatshepsut had
Yahutub is the mother of
Ahmuz.
Ahmuz, and she's the one you told us about
Yes,
in the beginning.
yes.
Okay.
And there is
Seems
Wasrat.
a very interesting lady.
Yeah, she is. She is.
Yeah.
I mean, she Yahutub got the one of the
Highest merits, I
highest
guess.
merits in the.
Yes.
Remember, we talked
Yeah.
about
She got one of the
the three
highest
flies
merits.
of valor. Okay, so now we are talking about women participating in the public sphere. Of course, they were in charge of the private sphere. Okay, women mainly were in charge of the private sphere, but this didn't mean that a woman has the right to go public. Weaving industries in general. Okay,
Yes.
So I study these things, and then I try to find a comparison with nowadays, you know, situation. And you for example, you get the front page reports of Al-Ahram,
Yes.
and then you study the way they talk about our ministers.
Yes.
You go to the Washington Post and the CNN and so on, the way they talk about women in politics, okay? We are talking about women who are supposed to have their rights, okay? Still, the way they are depicted is
I
not.
think that now women are depicted in a more sarcastic way, especially in politics.
In politics, the public sphere,
In public
we need
sphere.
to change this.
And if we compare the most powerful countries now, like Germany or the United States, and how women are represented in politics, compared to ancient Egypt, we would find a huge difference. because
Yes.
There was, this is the idea, this is the idea about behind my research. I want to change the situation right now. Of course we have, and I say it all the time, the language of the president is different.
Yes.
It's so...
And the action on the ground is different.
yes, but again, language is very telling.
Yes, Dr. Heba focuses more on language.
Okay,
And I
so
believe that
the
you analyze
language
even the speeches,
Of the president,
of
yes, I
course.
did.
lexical.
On the,
use.
I did some, you know, a research comparing 3 presidents of Egypt and the way they talk about women.
Yes.
What you, regardless of whether you are you like this president or not, the fact is, you have a president nowadays who addresses women directly,
Yes.
and this is one thing. I mean, he talks to women directly, and he involves them in the public sphere. Women who are ordinary, regular women. I'm not talking about politicians.
Yes.
No, he more than once did this, and I did a couple of researches about this. He had, when he was the military commander, he addressed directly the Egyptian women and told them, take, you know. Here, the fact that the woman is the doer,
Yes.
okay? Take your husband and go. So you are the doer, you are the actor, you are not the goal. And you are not the doer of something like cooking, etc. You are the doer of something which has
Importance.
a say, a
Would
significance.
actually change everything going on in the
Egypt.
future. Yes.
In the conference, of the youth conference, again, he used the same things, the same verb. Now, you stop at these linguists, stop at this and start to analyze this, and you find a similarity in the way he talks with the linguistic, again,
Yes.
representation of women in ancient Egypt. People say that the president is very popular with women. Okay, why? It's like, probably they are not linguists, but they get the message.
Yes, of course.
Somebody who respects them
And
somebody
addressing them.
addresses them directly, and this didn't happen before for a long time.
And how
Okay.
this changed so many things. I mean, this opened the door for
It
so
changed-
many changes.
It's changed the media, and this is the point. I did a couple of researches about women representation in elections, in media, in print media, in elections, in Egyptian elections. Then you start to see before the president starts to use this language and after, okay? There's a huge difference. One of the things that it was common for media, I'm not going to mention the person, one of the shooting stars of media in Egypt, once was sitting with 3 very powerful, respectable women who are big names in politics. And then when they started to differ, what did he say? He used the language, a phrase, if it were elsewhere, he should have resigned automatically. He said, this is my mistake because أنا قاعد في شلة ستات. Okay? This
Sitting
is
with a gang of
disparaging.
women.
Exactly, disparaging.
Not even a group of women, a gang of women.
And they are the politicians. They were talking about choosing the president of Egypt. Okay, that was before the elections.
I think I know the program that you're
Okay.
talking about, but
And what did they do, the program?
They laughed.
they laughed.
No, of course the women were very furious later on, but they went off air. They only cut this part in the YouTube.
Okay, some
That's
editing.
it. No apology from him at all. to the women.
Unfortunately, our time is running up, but
Yeah.
before I go, Heba, I have one very important question for you. Now, you decided to go on with your research entitled Tutors of ISIS,
Yes.
with which you're going to Spain probably next week or
week,
so, and I
inshallah,
wish
yes.
you all success.
Thank you.
But what drove you to illustrate how women were represented in ancient Egypt and connecting modern times with ancient times is perhaps to change the negative
Yes, this is the
aspects of the present. If we can highlight the importance or the status given to women, how they were addressed in ancient Egypt, perhaps we can start to make some changes in
here.
in the
If you
present
get people,
time.
if you get people convinced, one last thing we need. Again, a call. I all the time in all my shows, I try to say it in all the programs.
Yes.
We are linguistically invisible in the laws of Egypt. Please,
Yeah.
Parliament, I address the President.
Okay.
Please change this. We want to be linguistically visible. I want to read مواطنة ومواطن أو مواطن ومواطنة.
Which is there in the Arabic language,
Yes,
by the way.
indeed.
I mean, it's not there in English.
But it's there in
But it's
Arabic.
there in
I do
Arabic.
not want to use the masculine geranic because it makes me linguistically invisible. If I'm linguistically invisible, I'm not there.
Yes. Actually, we have discussed this in so many...
I discussed it in
Yes.
a lot of
everywhere,
places
like
and talking
if
to
you
people
give
in the
the
parliament.
title, like Rais Sharikat, okay, if she's a woman, they give
It's
her
the law.
the
It's
main
the first thing.
title, although the Arabic language is a very rich language and it has the,
It
the
has to
male
be
and
in the
female.
books for the children
title.
again, not just the laws. It should state على الطالبات والطلبة أو الطلبة والطالبات don't make the girl feel that she is
Inferior.
secondary.
No, she's not even there. She's not secondary. She's not even
Exactly,
there.
invisible, linguistically invisible.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Heba Nayef, Vice Dean for Structural Affairs at the Faculty at the College of Language and Communication. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you
We're
very
looking
much.
forward when you come from Spain.
Inshallah.
I would like to know, the feedback, the reaction of people, and the discussions that.
I'm going with another research which is called, again, Tears of Hafer, about women representation, linguistic representation in songs.
Oh, that would be nice.
Indeed.
Looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Heba. And with that, our dear viewers, we come to the end of this segment in our show for today. A short break, and after that, we'll be back to continue our show for today.